So we're going to start this morning class in Sukhasana. So use the block to just elevate a little bit so it's easier to get the knees down, lower than the hips. And bring the heels in gently and softly. And we'll just take a couple of minutes to settle ourselves, so rolling the shoulders down nicely. Little wriggle through the neck. Get that pelvis into a nice neutral position. Just wriggle it around so it feels planted. And then I'm just going to take the palms down this morning just to kind of set the tone for the class. Conscious, grounded, and strong. Now we're going to move from here onto our backs, and we're going to take a few postures on the floor. So just rolling gently down to the ground, using the hands for support. Wriggle out the spine a little bit, bring the heels in towards the bottom, and then we'll draw that right knee in towards the chest and let it sink out towards the right armpit. And we'll lengthen the left leg out straight down the line. So we're not really going to be very assertive in this. I just want the hip flexors and the hamstrings kind of sort themselves out. Let them sink in to a little bit of stretch more naturally. So I'm going to use gravity and the weight of the muscles to do that work for me. And then we're going to release, bring both knees back towards that starting position and take it left knee towards left armpit. Slide the right heel out. And again, just letting the body find its own natural position to relax into. Will give us a little bit of an indication as to where the body is feeling tight, where there's an opportunity to find some space. Maybe even making some discoveries about how we feel. Okay, I'm going to release from there and bring those feet back in towards the bottom. And we'll take the right leg up towards the sky, turn the toes out, bend in the knee. We'll come into our figure four, so the ankle to the outside, we flex the foot nice and strong. Right knee moves towards the front of the mat. I draw the left leg in and see if we can take the hands at least around the back of the thigh, if not the shin. Going to use the strength of the left leg to draw both legs a little closer in towards the body. So we're not using the hands quite so much. Let those shoulders just move down towards the floor. See if we continue to get a feeling of opening. And then we can release from there. Untangle the legs. Take the left leg high, turn the toes out, bend the knee into that figure four. So we send the knee forwards a little bit as we flex the foot. Use the right leg to draw in. Take our bind wherever the opportunity is. Continue to use a little bit of strength in that right leg to pull in. Draw the shoulders down towards the floor a little bit, so you're opening the front of the chest. And then we'll release from there. Shake that up. Bring the feet back down. You're going to take your arms out wide and just shimmy the hips to the left a little. Let the legs roll down to the right. Turn the head to the left. Keep the shoulders on the ground. Stretch out through the fingertips a little bit so you feel the chest opening. Not to worry too much about where the legs are. Kind of leave them to their own devices. I want to see if we can lengthen out through the shoulders, the front of the chest, through the fingertips. You might start to get a little bit of a tingly nerve feeling in the body as you strengthen out or lengthen out through the fingers. And we'll come slowly back. Reset the hips. Shimmy to the right. Take it over to the second side. And then once we feel safe again, we're going to emphasize the lengthening out through the fingertips. So it doesn't look like we move anywhere, but you'll feel a big difference in the body. Keep lengthening out. Feel the body grow. And then we'll release and come back. So draw the knees in towards the chest. We're going to wrap the hands underneath the back of the thighs. Draw the chin in towards the chest. And wrap myself into a little bit of a ball. If you can bring the hands around the shins, that's great, but this is a way of doing it without putting any stress into the knee joints. And then we're going to roll gently onto our side. You choose which. Roll ourselves back up. A spin towards the front of the mat, and we'll come into child's pose. Now we're going to take some side bends in this as well, so we'll take the knees wide, heels together, and sit gently back. And slide the hands out as far as you can. As you ease down towards the floor. And you take a couple of breaths here, really breathing into the armpits and letting the shoulders spread out. Really inflate the ribs out sideways. One more. Now, as you exhale, we'll walk the hands into that side bend to the right. And we'll take it over to the left. And as you exhale, we'll come back to the center and we'll lift forwards gently and come down onto our bellies for low cobra. So feet are about hip distance apart, bootlaces down. We'll bring the hands down towards the bottom of the ribs, so a little bit lower this time, and elbows squeezed together. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, back down. Inhale it up. Exhale it down. Inhale up. And down. Just continue to lengthen those legs out. Keep the thighs attached to the floor, toes stretching away. And feel the buttocks lengthen away as well, even as you lift. We'll come up one more time. And then this time we'll tuck the toes underneath, press away from the floor, we'll come up onto all fours, ready for down dog. So we'll take ourselves into the front of the mat. Take a little breath, roll the shoulders back, take the knees away from the floor, and adjust as you need to. Allow yourself to walk out. So ideally there's space between the heels and the floor. Fingers are either pointing forwards or slightly out to the side. You can walk it out. You can be still. You can bend the knees. Who knows what choices you might make. Okay, when you come into a nice steady position and take that into a scissor with the right leg lifting. Try and keep the hips square to the ground, lengthening out through the leg, and then bring that back down. We'll take the left leg, again, keep the hips and shoulders square to the floor, and bring that foot down. We'll take it again to the right, and bring the foot down. We'll take it to the left, and bring that down. We'll take it to the right and we'll add a plank. So we'll lift up, come forwards, go back, bring the foot down. We'll take the left leg high, come forwards, shoulders over wrists, back into the dog, bring the foot down. We'll take it to the right, we'll come forwards into plank, back into dog, bring the foot down, last time to the left, come forwards, and back. Okay, we'll add plank and half plank. Right leg lifts, come forwards, push on the tiptoes, elbows into the ribs. Press back to the plank, and back into the dog. There, it's a little bit stronger. Left leg lifts up, come forwards into the plank, push through the toes, elbows into the ribs, press back to plank, and lift up. One more to each side. Oh yeah. Leg lifts, plank, forwards, push it back into the plank, back, keep those shoulders wrapped back, left leg lifts, come forwards, half plank, press, dog, foot to the floor. Take a little breath, knees to the ground, back down onto the body, straight to the floor. Feet are a little wider than the hips. We'll bring the hands down by the side of our body, palms face down. We'll inhale, chest and hands away from the floor. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. 3 more. Last one. Guide the legs in. Thighs lift, hands lift, chest lift. 4 more. Try and slow the lift down. You actually stretch into your edge at the end of your breath. Keep the head extending so the neck stays pretty neutral. We have one more lift. And then down. We'll take a little breath from here. Bring the arms forward so we can lift up into Sphinx pose. Just placing the elbows underneath the shoulders. Roll the shoulders back a little bit and out wide. Draw the belly in. Press the forearms into the floor to get your lift. Lengthen the tailbone away and stretch out through the toes. And then we'll come back down to the floor. Now we're going to bring the hands underneath the chin, the elbows out wide. And then I'm going to slowly bend the right knee. I'm going to try and align my heel to my sitting bone. I'll take the right hand back. And then the chin's still on the floor. Let's see if I can bring the heel in towards the said sit bone. Now you're looking to have the thighs more or less parallel to each other. And then we can release. Swap the hands over and we'll take it to the second side. So a little bit of hesitation there as I found my big toe finding the block behind me. What was that back there? Oh yeah, that's it. Again, just trying to lead the heel towards the sitting bone. It's actually quite easy for it to move out to the side of the hip. So this is bringing it, well, it's going to feel like you're bringing it back a little bit more into the center. And I guess that depends a little bit on the shape of the legs as well. Maybe that's just how I find it in my body. I'm trying to keep the spine nice and long, so pressing the hips a little to the floor, just a couple of pounds of pressure. And then we can release on that side as well. And shake out the hips a little from side to side. And then we'll take both knees, bend them, take both hands back, find the ankles, in this case. Flex the feet. So again, a nice strong connection into those ankles. Press the shins away. Press the belly down into the floor and the thighs down into the floor. So we get a little bit of lift in the chest, but the legs and thighs and the belly are flat to the floor. You can take another breath and then we'll start to press the soles of the feet up towards the sky to get the thighs to lift off the ground a little bit as well. Taking a few breaths here. And then we'll release back down. Bring hands to the bottom of the ribs as you release the feet. Press into the floor. Ease yourself back up onto all fours. Now bring the knees together underneath. And we'll take the left knee to the outside of the left wrist and bring the heel under the groin. We'll walk the right foot back as far as we can so that we get the left hip as close to the floor as possible. So generally as that happens, you walk the foot a little bit further forwards on the front leg to make space. So you kind of roll off the side of the calf a little bit. And then we're going to bring the hands forwards. We're going to keep them about shoulder distance apart and ease our way down to the floor. We're not going to quite touch the ground. We're kind of getting level with it. Just keeping the chin off of the ground a little bit, and then lengthen the back leg away as you press the hands into the floor and kind of push back a little bit. You'll feel that in the hip as you do that. And then we're going to release and walk the hands back in. And we'll bring ourselves back up onto all fours again. Bring the knees together on the center line. Make sure the hands are shoulder distance apart. Going with the right leg forwards. Going to walk the left foot back. Remember to bring the right heel forwards just a little bit if you need to. Sliding off and down the side of the calf muscle a little bit. So just making a bit of space. We know where we're going. And then when you're ready, walk the hands out, shoulder distance apart again. Get nice and flat to the floor. Lengthen out through the back leg and then press the hands into the floor. So it's like you're pushing back just very lightly into your own body. Lengthening out through that long leg. Head stays off the ground. Body is flat to the floor. And it really is just a couple of pounds of pressure. You don't want to put too much effort into this. Just feeling it in the hip and the hamstring, protecting the knee. And we'll walk the hands back in again to lift up to all fours. Now, as we arrive, we'll just tuck the toes underneath, sit back onto the heels, walk the hands in, and then let the knees lift away from the ground. So we're into a little bit of a squat there. The fingers are in front of us. We're going to take a breath here. We're going to raise ourselves up into Uttanasana. So the head down, hips high, and press the heels into the floor. The ribs and the thighs meet somewhere, hopefully. Just walking the fingers in a little closer. Draw the body in. Press down through the feet. Okay. I'm going to take the block that was behind me and just bring that in front of my feet a little bit. Put the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, and let myself lift up. With a nice flat back. We're going to place the ball joint of each foot onto the block. So take a little time. Gives you a nice stretch down the back of the calves. Going to try and draw the hips back a little bit. So there is a limit because, in this position, you feel like your weight is transferring forwards. And if you go too far back, you'll stumble. So we're going to try and find the balance there. Let the hands come by the side. And then on the inhale, we'll just take the hands up above the shoulders and bring the palms together and exhale. Now that will transfer the weight around very gently through your body. So we're going to move these arms slow. We've got time for one more. Okay, we'll stop off the block, and I'm just going to put that to the side so it's nicely out of the way, because we're going to do a standing balance. I'm going to bring the feet together. Now, you might want to use a wall, that's fine if you wish to, or you might want to step off of the mat onto more sort of safe ground. You're going to find something to focus on in front of you. Take a little breath. We're going to load into our left leg. So you're going to start to press the foot into the floor. You'll kind of feel the hips move around a little bit, but you want to try and draw them into the center pretty much. And we're going to bring that right foot up, away from the ground. So the knee comes into about height of the hip. Now we'll take the right hand into the center of the thigh, continue to lift the right leg higher, and see if we can get our hand around our big toe with the index finger, middle finger. So we're taking the left hand out to the side, standing up nice and tall eventually. It's a bit stiffer in the hips than I thought it was going to be. And then we'll slowly extend the leg out. We're going to try and keep it a little higher than the hip if we can. Draw the right shoulder back. Flex the foot and press out through the heel. We'll release. Bring that back. And we'll take it into the other side. So plenty of work going on in that left leg there. Take a little time to find our balance, our center, find our focus point. When we're ready, we'll load into the right leg. Allow the left leg to lift. We take it in stages. We take the hand into the center. We lift a little higher, so the knee just travels out naturally a little bit to the side. You have to lean forwards a fraction, try and keep that to the minimum, and then lengthen the body back out as you take the hand out to the side on the right. And then when you're ready, you're going to lengthen the leg out. Try and have the toes point to the sky, draw that left shoulder back. Again, try and keep the heel if you can, a little higher than the hip. Whoops, lost that one. Just to join you for the last breath. And then we'll bring it back down with more control. There we go, and shake it all out. Whew. We'll come up to the front of the mat. Turn the page over. Well, can I have the feet about hip distance apart, then spin out to the right. Keep the feet nice and wide. And then take the arms out into that star shape that we use. And as you inhale, turn the toes towards the front of the mat, and on the exhale, sink into your warrior two. Just check the front foot position is as central down that center line as you can make it be. We're going to come into triangle pose, so we're going to lengthen over the front thigh, and then bring the hand down as we start to open up into that front leg. We take the top arm high and get a little bit more height in the body, so we're trying to lift up rather than a low loading triangle. We're trying to get a nice high version, and we'll take the top arm around towards that front thigh, front hip. So taking a nice little reverse bind, pressing the front foot into the floor and the back foot with as much effort, so equal effort. We take the front leg a little bit, so we keep a little micro bubble bend in the knee. Now we'll soften the front knee, come back into our warrior two. I'm going to lift the hands up above the head, rotate. We're going to spin on the ball joint of the back foot, ease the hands down to the floor into lunge, and then let ourselves step forward into a forward fold. And bring the thighs into the ribs as we exhale. Bring the hands under the hips, soften the knees and the flat back to lift up. And then we'll bring the hands into the heart and take that nice step out to the left. Come into our star shape. Lengthen out through the fingertips again. Turn on the inhale. Exhale into warrior two. Stabilize. Lengthen forwards gently. Bring the hand down onto the shin. Then open the leg. Lift up through the top hand. Remember that bottom hand is really close up near the kneecap. Take the top arm around gently into the thigh. So we've got plenty of space. Both legs working. And we'll soften back into warrior two. Take the hands high, rotate gently, nice and slow. Bring the hands down into the lunge. Take a breath, step forwards, fold in deep. Hands onto the hips. Soften the knees and the slow lift up. We'll inhale high, hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Right foot back for warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the thighs this time and lift up to open. We'll turn the palm on the front hand, reverse warrior. We'll wrap the other hand around the back, extend out. Come back into warrior two. Take the hands high and we'll bring them onto inside slowly, of that front leg. We'll take the hands around to the long side, turn the toes in. You can take the hands out wider than the shoulders and walk the fingers forwards. So we're looking for that line between shoulder, fingertips and hips. And we want the weight to be even, front and the back and the sides of the feet. So there's a little bit more work to do than first is obvious. We draw the belly in. We actually try and press the sitting bones up towards the sky as we press the feet into the floor. So that's a lot of work going on. A couple more breaths. And we'll walk the hands back underneath the body to lift up halfway. Take the fingers round to the front of the mat. Now I'm going to shimmy the front foot off at about 45 degrees and let the knee hang out to the side. And slowly let the back knee down to the floor, keeping the toes tucked under. I'm going to slowly and gently take that left arm up towards the sky, over. And as I do, take it back. I'm going to start to lift the back foot away from the floor, squeeze it in, hopefully find some toes, and bring the heel in towards the buttock. I'm going to release that out. Bring the hand back, spin the foot in on the front leg, so hands come back into lunge either side of the front foot. Lift the back knee off the floor and step it gently into the forward fold. Bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees and flat back. And we'll do that to the second side. Inhale high, hands into the heart. Weight is into the toes, thighs lift, fold it in. Left foot back, ready for warrior two. Hands come alongside the body and we lift up. As we arrive, we turn the palm on the front hand. Take the back hand around. Once that arm gets close to the ear, you take it more into that reverse warrior, just leaning out to the back of the mat. We'll come back into our warrior two. Bring the hands high, and then we'll go into the dive onto the inside, nice and slow. Bring the fingers around, long side of the mat, turn the toes in again, take a little breath. Now this time we're going to allow ourselves to just get a little space in the hips. So we're going to send the tailbone back and try and draw the pelvis forwards. It's going to feel like that, and mechanically it's not really happening, but it's that sense of feeling. And then we'll let ourselves swing like a pendulum from the hips over the thighs and down. Keep the elbows relatively close together. Keep lifting those hip bones. Last breath. We'll lift back up. Walk the fingers around to the front edge of the mat. Spin that front foot out 45, let the knee hang out to the side. Drop the back knee down, keep those toes tucked under as we did before. This time the right hand does come up. We roll it over slowly. When it gets towards the back of the mat, then you can lift the foot off. Just roll on that knee bone, find some toes, and then draw the heel in. So you kind of bend the elbow, keep the twist in the body. Should be able to feel that sort of middle thigh area, maybe a little bit lower. And we'll release. Spin the front foot in. Lift the back knee into the lunge. Hopefully still got enough left in the legs to press forwards into the forward fold. Hands under the hips. And let ourselves lift up. And we're going to take the feet out as wide as the mat as we bring the hands up above the head. Bring the heels in a little bit, sort of 20 degrees-ish. Take a little breath. Allow ourselves to hinge forwards slowly. Bring the hands to the floor. So we've still got a fairly long flat back. Then we're going to soften the knees and sit down into a squat. Now you can keep the fingers on the floor. If you need to bring the feet in a little closer, that's fine. Most times when I do squats, I use the block because I don't have a limitless supply of motion in my ankles. They're quite tight, and my hips. So it takes a little time for my body kind to settle into this. There's a lot of wriggling going on. That's not on purpose. It's just what my body does. Kind of shifts itself around a little bit. And I have to leave the hands out to keep a bit of balance. If you're able to bring the hands in and bring palms together into prayer, great. Otherwise, this is a decent substitute. Going to take a little breath from there, and then bring the hands back in towards the heart. Keep the spine nice and long and let ourselves lift up. So those legs have done quite a lot of work. Going to bring them back into the center. Give them a little shake out. I'm going to come back in towards the middle of the mat. Bring the feet together. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Now I'm going to take tree pose. I'm going to load into this left leg. So I'm going to slide the right heel onto the ankle and then just let the toes out to the side. And this is as high as we're going to take the tree today, because we're going to move from tree into kite. And the thing about kite is that you really want to keep that left hip in and centered, so it feels like the body is really an upright line rather than the bowing out to the side. We take the arms out wide into a nice Y shape, palms facing forwards, and lengthen out through the fingers, but drop the shoulders a little. And when you're ready, you're going to slowly take the right toes away from the floor, take the leg out, point out through the toes, keep the foot just hovering a fraction off of the floor to the side, and do your best to keep yourself into that pencil line from the foot through to the crown of the head, pointing upwards. And it's not as easy as it sounds. Legs are tired this morning, wriggling around all over the place. Okay, we're going to let that foot come back in, bring the hands down. And then hands into the heart. Find your focus point, shift the weight into the right leg. The left heel comes up, toes turn out to the side. We'll expand the arms out again into that Y shape. Find our balance, our center. When you're ready, take the toes of the left foot away and lengthen the leg out to the side and hover. Or fly, depending on whether you want to be a hovering kite or a flying kite. And we'll bring that foot back in as well. Shake it all out. And we're going to make our way down to the floor. And we're going to need the block as well. So bring that in. I'm going to bring the heels onto the corner edges of the block. Hands in towards the heart. Going to come down into the squat again. So just lower down nice and slow. So the knees and the spine and the pelvis will have time to kind of gel and work out where they want to be. And then we're going to bring the fingers to the floor, but we want to take them out wide. We're going to take this into a twist. So we're going to walk the right hand out till the palm is flat to the floor, kind of pressing the knee almost into the back of the armpit. Slowly turn the body open to the left and then extend the hand out, following the line of the chest. then we'll bring the hands back onto the floor. Walk out to the left a little bit. You're trying to get as much length in the spine, so you kind of lift and draw out of the pelvis, palm flat to the floor. So you've taken the weight, you transfer it forwards a little bit. Then you rotate the chest open to the right side and extend the hand out. You're still trying to get that length in the body, opening into the twist. And then we'll release back down. Cool. We'll take the hands behind so we can sit down onto the block as gracefully as possible, taking the legs out in front. We'll draw the left heel into the groin, so the knees out to the side and flat to the floor. Come into Janu Shishasana, so we'll just put a little flex into the front leg, bring the hands onto the shins, lift the body up, and fall slowly over, getting as much length in the body as we can. If you're able to, slide the hands around the sole of the foot, while still letting the shoulders relax towards the back of the mat. And release. Use the hands to walk ourselves back up. Cross over to the opposite side. Square the hips up. Lengthen the body, fold over. Take the hands forwards again, if it's easy to do. Draw the shoulders back a little bit. Let that generate a little bit of length in the spine for you. So as you draw the shoulders back, you can lengthen the spine forwards. And then we release from there as well. Sitting up in Dandasana, we're going to take the left hand to the outside of the right thigh. Slide that along so we come into a twist to the right, taking the right hand behind. Flexing both feet, lengthening out through the heels. And then we'll release, come to the front, take it the other way. And release. Going to come down to the floor. Use the block behind for the back of the head. Now you want to make sure you got plenty of room to the sides of the mat to extend out. Going to roll down. Allow ourselves to bring the block underneath the back of the head so it's away from the shoulders. And I'm going to wriggle the spine out a little bit. Just going to adjust my waistband off the back of my pelvis. There we go. Make a bit more space. That is better. And then I'm going to take the arms out wide, crucifix style. I'm going to shimmy the hips over towards the left side a little bit, and then let the knees roll over towards the right. Now, assuming that the bottom thigh is on the floor, you can then start to draw the top leg a little closer into the body and have the hands on the right side come onto that thigh. Slide your hand down your leg and see if you can hook your index finger and middle finger around your big toe. And you're going to slowly extend your left leg out to the right side. And try and keep the shoulders on the floor. Lengthen out through the heel. Now I'm going to bend the knee to bring that leg back and release the toes. Ease our way back up to the center, back into the center line. Take a moment here. And then we'll shimmy over to the right. And let the legs come down to the left. And again, if the bottom leg is on the floor, then take the left hand onto that right thigh and draw the knee a little closer in towards the body. Slide your hand down the shin to find your big toe easily. Take a little breath from there, and then extend your right foot out to the left. Trying to keep shoulders on the ground and working into the straightest leg you can manage by pressing out through the heel. And we'll release. Bring those legs back gently. Again, take a moment here. And then we can come into Shavasana. So just lowering the hands down closer to the side of the body. Sliding the heels out one leg at a time to the corner edges of the mat. And letting the legs roll open. Soften the jaw as you close your eyes. And let everything sink towards the ground. We'll begin to stretch the fingers and toes. Breathe a little deeper. Stretch it out. Ease the heels back in. Take a little hug on a rock, whatever feels good. And then we'll ease our way onto the right side. We'll stay here for 3 breaths. And we'll press into the floor on an exhale to lift up. Slide ourselves around gently into that sitting posture. Sit up tall. Bring the hands to the heart as we take a breath in. Let the chin drop. Bow to the floor. Seal our practice. Inhale, lifting the head. Eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Have a lovely weekend.